So we have 3 Amulet Titan players. It's the team of Daryl Ayers, Edgar Magalhaes, and Matthew Dilks. On the other side, Nicholas Julian, Nick Mincucci, and Dominic Testa. And we're going to start with the Amulet Titan versus Jeskai control matchup, which, to me, this is, I think, the most interesting of the 3.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a sort of speed dynamic where it's going to be the 2 players deciding exactly who's faster.
And so, starting, Daryl takes the play. It's going to be with Sakura Tribe Scout. And sees Colony on the other side. That should pretty much give him the information he needs on this matchup.
Yeah, for the most part, the big issue is if Daryl thinks that you're going to see any lightning bolts from the Jeskai player here. Not having a way to deal with the Sakura Tribe Scout on turn 1 is a really, really big deal for Ayers' development.
Yeah, and we see here as an end step, it puts that forest back into play. That's 1 ramp, and because there wasn't that bolt, Daryl's going to get a 2nd ramp off this.
Yeah, this is a big deal. This is multiple, basically an exploration, which is just out of this world.
And Daryl tries at Trinket Mage. This is something that's really come into favor out of Amulet decks, but into 2 blue mana, Mana Leak takes care of that. And also Daryl hits in with Tribe Scout with not making a land drop there.
This is rough. This is rough. Ayers needs to be able to actually get out on the table before Nicholas is able to just start Cryptic Commanding.
Yeah, and a huge play. Oust in the main puts that Tribe Scout back into Daryl's deck.
Wow. So if the top card's not exactly a land, Daryl's is going to be pretty behind here.
And I actually do want to make a correction here, because I was looking at cards like Oust, and my first thought is Jeskai typically doesn't play Oust.
Yeah, it may just be an issue where Nicholas might just be splashing something, or we might have just misread the list there, but it looks like he's just on blue-white control.
Yeah. It is straight blue-white control. We're going to get that one changed here. And that actually, as far as how this matchup goes, is really going to change things.
Yeah, I actually think that helps Ayers a lot. It gives him that inevitability we talked about before, and it's a lot harder for Julian to turn the corner.
Yeah, Ayers makes Azusa Lost But Seeking. His top card's a Tribe Scout as well, so he's going to be set back in development for a couple of turns here.
Azusa attacks.
Yeah.
Azusa attacks.
Yeah, 1, you can get another one onto the board.
Do you know, that is a 19-turn clock, and you're just not respecting. Yeah. That is inevitability. That is what we're talking about.
Eventually we can Slayer Stronghold this Azusa. Oh, man, it's...
Every time this Azusa connects is 2 less mana we have to sink into a Walking Ballista later.
And I do want to point out on Nicholas's side, his 4th land there was a copy of Ghost Quarter. His deck has 1 Ghost Quarter and 4 Fields of Ruin in it, which are pretty important in this matchup.
Yeah, it's really going to hurt the ability for Ayers to set up any hasty Titans. We're going to see him really going for the slower route, just kind of, a couple points here, a couple points there, big shot.
And I do love the restraint on Julian's side. That turn, he could have quartered away this Simic Growth Chamber, but knowing there was a Tribe Scout on top of the deck, he just stands with his mana.
Oh, yeah, can you blame him? It's not like Sakura Tribe Scout is an impressive card when your opponent doesn't have lands.
Well, oh! I was going to say, here's a swing of 3. Will he settle it?
Okay, so it looks like Julian actually has a plan that doesn't involve necessarily the mana denial, but just realizes that he just needs to not die and he'll eventually win.
Yeah, settle the wreckage on 3 creatures, and he's calling out Daryl here, who only showed up with 3 basic forests. So both those get into play, and now those Ghost Quarters and Fields of Ruin are pretty real.
Oh, yeah, and what we're probably going to see here is Julian just trying to pave the way for his Planeswalkers that kind of put the game away.
Yeah. Daryl was able to make Trinket Mage, which found a copy of Amulet of Vigor.
Unsurprising, but one of the more recent developments in these lists that just kind of adds another dimension of consistency.
Yeah, they have Engineered Explosives, Walking Ballista, and Amulet of Vigor as the typical finds off the card.
So, a combo piece, a finisher, and an interactive spell.
Yeah. Well, here's the blue-white version of a combo piece.
Of finishers, this is nice. See, this is a combo with itself. It does everything.
Teferi, Hero of Dominaria is the play. And it will plus up. Nicholas will untap back to 3, leaving up that Ghost Quarter and double blue.
We might end up seeing a draw step Ghost Quarter here, but he may just want to spend all of the mana instead, or just not care that Ayers has 5 mana. That's not a very important number.
Yeah, it's interesting depending on how late Nicholas wants to go. So a lot of times you'd see a deck like Selesnya Value Ghost Quarter away a land like Simic Growth Chamber, but it looks like Nicholas is actually saving those Ghost Quarters and Fields of Ruin for the utility lands out of the deck.
And you can see Ayers thinking about this Pact of Negation in his hand, but he might just die.
Yeah, so there's Amulet of Vigor was tried for, and it's getting hit by Negate. Yeah, Daryl does have a Pact of Negation, but that Ghost Quarter looks very threatening.
You got to be real positive that this Primeval Titan's going to work out, even if you can.
Yeah, so if he has a bounce land and a Titan in hand, no, that still wouldn't work. Because if with the bounce land in play with that untapped trigger on the stack, Ghost Quarter would work. Yeah, and Daryl recognizes it.
Yep. Yeah, and this is just not good enough. This is not good enough from the Titan side of things.
Trinket Mage hits Teferi down to 3 loyalty. And Vesuva copying Simic Growth Chamber from Daryl. Picking up a basic forest.
Taking the long way around to this Primeval Titan.
Here's Azusa. And replays the forest passes. And
for any of our players that thought it might be rough in Standard to let the opponent untap with a Teferi, have you ever had that happen in Modern?
It scales with the cards you draw, right? Modern Teferi just draws better Magic cards.
Yeah, you have good 1-drops in Modern. That's several spells.
Back here, Nicholas will untap. He did decide to use that Ghost Quarter, taking out Vesuva. Vesuva was currently on Simic Growth Chamber, but kind of recognizing that later on could be reset.
Yeah, that was kind of the point where you just want to pull the trigger anyway, right? You're thinking, all right, well, Daryl can make the 6th mana for this Primeval Titan in a way that I can't respond to next turn.
Right.
And he's kind of playing this balancing act where he wants to get Ayers close and just keep him in this phase of barely not getting there and then barely almost getting there and so on. All the while, Teferi's just rolling up. Right,
Teferi up to 4. Daryl attacking it down to 1 if this succeeds. And Nicholas had the option to Colonnade block there, but just wants to leave his mana up.
Yeah, this is a situation where Julian's thinking, who cares? I still have a Teferi, and you didn't do anything. You did not literally skip your turn, but spending a whole turn doing nothing but taking some loyalty off a Planeswalker and it not dying is not a productive turn. That is exactly what Blue-White wants to happen.
Nicholas fetching here on end step to 16. Right now, things are going his way, kind of keeping this Amulet deck under control, keeping a Teferi in play. Now, look, he will have to make a move here, or next turn he'll lose the Planeswalker.
Yeah, honestly, it's really hard for Ayers to get out of this situation, but you could end up seeing something like an uncounterable Titan that can just really finish something off. That Ghost Quarter's gone now. That's what the route to Ayers getting back into this game is going to look like. But for the most part, Julian's really happy with the direction this game is going.
Yeah. So outside of this Teferi in play and this Colonnade on the battlefield, is there another way that Nicholas closes, or is this really just the pieces are already in place?
Most of the pieces are in place, but we do have some Jace the Mind Sculptors hiding out in the deck that, if you want, you can see the deck list up with Cardboard Live to just really, really just have all the information all of the time.
6 mana Terminus puts the creatures on the bottom of the deck for Daryl, but it's an opening for Primeval Titan as Nicholas untaps 2.
Well, hopefully Primeval Titan happens.
And
Let's see,
Ayers. We'll see.
What do you got? What do you got, Julian?
Did he leave up a counter for it? And he did not. Daryl gets to resolve Primeval Titan.
Oh, my. What we're probably going to be seeing here is a Teleria West and then any bounce land. This is a more white-oriented version, but getting the second blue online to really make that Teleria West turn into not an island.
Yeah, no,
is what we're looking for here.
I'm wondering if he'll go for something greedier here. It really depends on how much of a long game he's playing. So getting a Teleria West sets him up in a good spot, but we might see a greedier thing, something like 2 Teleria Wests or a Teleria West and a Cavern of Souls, or just like actually getting 2 impact cards. But he will go, it looks like, for the bounce land, for just 1 Teleria West right now, developing his mana.
Yep. And it looks like we actually have a win on the board for the Amulet squad already. Pretty unsurprising seeing Edgar there take a game on Nick on Titan Shift. That was one that we thought Amulet was pretty favored in.
Yeah, and he does take the first one there.
So the big reason that you don't want to get something like Cavern of Souls here is it exposes it to that Field of Ruin we see hiding out under Julian's Hallowed Fountain and Island there in the center of his lands.
Yeah, in this matchup, you typically don't want to put it on the battlefield until the turn you're about to use it.
Exactly. So you might have seen a spot where he gets Growth Chamber and Cavern just to have access to that Cavern later. But if you're just putting the land into your hand anyway, you're a little bit more interested in getting some more real estate out of your card. And you can turn Teleria West into a Cavern later if you need to.
Now, back to Nicholas we go. And he passes. Daryl's going to get to untap with Primeval Titan.
Yikes.
Yeah. I started, if possible, Nicholas would, he doesn't want to let this attack. Every time this card triggers, that's so much damage done.
Oh, yeah. Teleria West is kind of like drawing a real card. And by that, I mean any card you want in most of the deck. Because you get a Teleria West, or you get these utility lands that will eventually kill Julian.
Opt from Nicholas. Julian was trying for a Terminus. It did not find it. So now he goes to Cryptic Command, it looks like, as we move into combat.
This is a little bit ugly. This does not feel very good. So the issue here is that Daryl, one, we know he has the Pact of Negation, but he also has that Teleria West hiding out in his hand. So it means that Daryl can likely just also resolve another Primeval Titan.
Primeval Titan will attack. He gets a trigger. Teferi's going to hit the bin, and
this is a big swing.
Yeah, we're going to see what
Daryl's
going to grab here.
This is a lot. This is Ayers really taking control of this game.
Yeah, at this point, he's now trying to figure out how he loses and to try to just close off outs. Now, he's on the hook for one Pact of Negation, so he needs to be aware of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you can see him just, like you said, just kind of covering his bases here. He's getting that Cavern. He's getting his Boros Garrison. He's making sure he can, every card off the top of his deck is a live card, is an impactful card in what is going on right now.
And he sees that Field of Ruin with only 1 mana up. That means it's a green light for him to get the Cavern and put it into his hand, as it can't be hit by field.
Yeah, Julian is really, really not happy that he opted before he did that Cryptic play. It really is something where he might have felt that he just needed to get lucky there, but if he doesn't get lucky, he's in such a worse
Because
spot.
he's down that mana.
Exactly. He could activate the Field of Ruin otherwise.
And now Daryl uses a Ghost Quarter out of hand to quarter away the Field of Ruin, paying a lot of respect to those lands.
Yeah, he just needs to do his thing, and he'll be fine.
No.
That's all he's really looking to do here.
And Teleria West from Daryl is going to be transmuted for a Summoner's Pact. And
this is the beginning of another Primeval Titan.
Yeah, maybe not on this turn, but it'll work regardless as he passes back. He still has a Titan in play, and he's got that Cavern going on in his hand.
Yeah, he'll have access to 1 more mana next turn. Right now, he has 6 of his lands, or 6 mana worth of lands tapped. Next turn, he'll only have 5 mana worth of lands tapped. And that is basically the difference between playing a land and casting a Primeval Titan with that Cavern that he grabbed and not being able to do that.
Colonnade tapped here for Julian.
It's a start.
And Terminus was the pickup, but he has to tap out all his lands against an opponent who he just saw pick up a Summoner's Pact.
Yikes might be the word of the game here. This is rough. This is really rough for Julian.
Daryl pays for Pact, draws a card, and at this point doesn't even have to Cavern this Primeval Titan. No sense in exposing it.
No, not at all. All right, here's the Titan. And he's going to pay some mana for that. He's just figuring out what land he wants to expose.
And see Grove of the Burn Willows holding on to that Cavern. And I love how this builds, because you'll get into a situation against blue-white where what will happen is you'll keep making Primeval Titans. You have them on the back foot like this, but they keep removing your Primeval Titans. And what I like what's going to happen eventually is all these triggers will end up with so many bounce lands that once he can end this with a giant Walking Ballista.
Oh, yeah, you're just eventually going to go, 30 mana for a 15-point fireball is not a great deal. But, boy, if it ain't a resolvable 15-point fireball, we take those. It don't have to be pretty. It just got to work.
Teleria West into the hand for Daryl. Primeval Titan will go under a Detention Sphere.
This does not feel good right after getting another one off the table. But, again, you kind of just got to do what you got to do. The other option is letting Ayers untap with a Primeval Titan, and that's not realistic.
Daryl pays for Pact here. Now, we do want to keep track of the number of Telerio Wests left in his deck. That's the one part that Daryl does run out of on the recursion side.
Right. Most of these lists, you're going to be seeing 3 copies of the card. I believe he has used 1 at this point.
Yeah, gotten a Summoner's Pact. Yep.
Exactly. All right, well, this is a 5-mana Primeval Titan if it resolves.
Engineer Explosives on 3. Nicholas not going to let that one happen.
Good play from Julian. I agree.
Yeah.
I would have countered that as well.
All right, so Explosives goes into the graveyard. Do you want to check the list whether we have Academy Ruins this weekend? And it looks like the answer is no, so that one actually in the graveyard for good.
Yep, had to make a little bit of room for all of these white sources. You really just need to make sure you can cast your spells rather than get fancy sometimes. All right, and we have Prime Time number 3.
And Cavern of Souls on Giant, making Primeval Titan. And we're likely going to see a bounce land to pick up that Cavern of Souls again.
Yep, that's just kind of it's a little bit repetitive, but it's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Eventually, Nicholas will not be able to answer one.
Right, and if the one way you can answer that 15-point fireball you were talking about would be if you can counter it. So keeping that Cavern of Souls around in your hand is pretty important here. So we see, and it looks like he'll get the bounce land and then Bazooka Bog as the other one.
Yeah, this is kind of just trying to, like we said before, you're just kind of tightening the noose, closing off your outs, or Julian's outs, excuse me, and this turn hurts Snapcaster, it hurts Logic Knot. There's just a lot of graveyard plays that historically the blue decks in Modern need to lean on a little bit.
So Daryl bogged away Julian's graveyard, and he actually picked up the bog rather than the cavern here, as we see a second Primeval Titan off into exile from Path to Exile.
Yeah, and there's a strong chance that Ayers here just thinks that if Nicholas is spending time on things like Field of Ruin, that's just not going to be good enough.
Yeah, at this point the board is clear, however. So we go back over to Nicholas, Julian's side, and he'll hit with Colonnade.
Whew. Whew.
Daryl to 19.
4 celestial points of damage.
Paying for another Pact does Ayers.
Glad he's remembering that. Glad he's remembering that.
Yeah.
What feels worse than forgetting a pack trigger? Nothing.
Ancient Stirrings here from Daryl. He's got an Amulet of Vigor, which he'll grab. In that top 5, you also saw one of the lands that the white build gets to play was a copy of Kabira Crossroads. That's gone in the slot where you typically see Radiant Fountain.
Yeah, you don't really want your lands to be entering the battlefield tapped, but kind of the cool thing about this deck is you do get to get real creative with your lands.
Yeah.
Helps you cheat on some of your colored sources a little bit. It really does a lot to make sure you actually just get to play games of Magic.
We see Summoner's Pact from Daryl for getting Titan again. And they will keep coming. Can Nicholas parry this? He cannot.
All right. Well, it's uncounterable because of the cavern.
Right.
But, all right, well, we're finally seeing one of these Turbo Titan plays where, all right, he picked up the cavern.
Yeah.
And the Slayer Stronghold, hasting up the Titan.
Yeah, so he gets Slayer's Stronghold and Celestia Sanctuary. The Amulet trigger will untap both of them. He had a Boros Garrison left over for the red mana, so he will use that here. Picks up Cavern of Souls to the bounce land, but on the attack, gets Sunhome to give his Titan double strike. That's an 8/6 double striker, and with an opponent at 16, that adds up pretty nicely.
Oh, yeah, you got to go for it. If you get to attack with the Primeval Titan, you know Julian doesn't have anything.
So game 1 goes over to Ayers. He picks up a win there.
Oh.
Magalhaes has a win.
Titan Squad.
Yeah, Amulet, I believe the turn.
Lit. It is so lit.
All right, so looking at the sideboards here, and this was one, I want to start with Daryl Ayers' side because this sideboard was one of the reasons they chose the white version of the deck for this tournament.
Right, so a lot of the white cards you're going to be seeing out of the sideboard are not necessarily things you're very excited about against the control decks. Maybe he ends up deciding he wants the Sigarda because it's kind of hard to kill with spot removal and things of the sort. But Path to Exile is the big thing that really sticks out, is being able to answer kind of problematic creatures that are normally very good against the Amulet deck. Your Gurmag Anglers, your Death Shadows, your big Champion of the Parishes, etc.
Yeah, and that's an upgrade because traditional Amulet plays a Braid in that slot.
Exactly, and that's just not going to cut it against those things. A Braid is great when both modes are good, but if we're being honest, if you're just using it as a removal spell, it's kind of mopey.
Yeah, 2 mana to 3 a creature is...
We pay 1 for that in Modern.
Yeah.
We pay 1 for that in Modern, okay?
All right, so you're right, the sideboard here, so 4 Path to Exile probably not coming in, but I do want to look at some of the other options he has. We have Engineered Explosives, 2 Spell Pierces, a second copy of Cavern of Souls, a Hornet Queen, a 1 of Negate, a 1 of Reclamation Sage, a Rurikthar, that Sigarda Host of Herons, which is the 5 mana one from Avacyn Restored, and a Termod's Crypt. All these cards have some application against a control deck.
Yeah, and a lot of times with sideboarding, when you have as many tutors as you do, you tend to hedge a little bit more, but it's not about necessarily just having applications. You want to have the best applications, or the cards that are just the most powerful pieces of cardboard. So you're really going to be interested in your Spell Pierces to kind of just punish all of these big cryptic commands and terminuses that you'll be seeing from the blue-white side of things. Cavern, obviously very good. We talked about it a lot in-game a moment ago. Negate, very strong against all the planeswalkers. You might end up seeing Hornet Queen because it's so good against spot removal, but it's generally going to be for more of the mid-rangey decks. And Rurikthar is also just a big dumb idiot, and it's going to punish all of the ops, all of the planeswalkers, etc.
Yeah, I'd expect to see the Pierce, Negate, Hornet Queen, or not Hornet Queen, Cavern of Souls. Hornet Queen, I think we're unlikely to see. And Rurikthar and Sigarda are the ones I'm actually interested in here. So Rurikthar is a threat that he takes 6 when they deal with it. Sigarda definitely comes in against Jund decks. This one is close.
Right, exactly. It's kind of the thing where it depends a lot on how much that Ayers thinks that he needs extra threats in this matchup. That's going to be what kind of makes or breaks how many of these cards he's bringing in.
All right, so finally wrapping up the season, the Star City Games holiday sale has just a few days left in it, starting in December and running through this Monday. It's our biggest sale of the year, and we've been adding items all season. Check out the ones we have left and some of the best deals that goes on through this weekend, though, at starcitygames.com/holiday sale. So we know on Daryl's side, basically out of sideboard. So for Nicholas Julian on the Azorius side of things, this is an interesting one because you can drag this game very late.
Yeah, exactly. And you know that you are going to be going long unless you end up in a situation where Ayers is mana screwed. Maybe you're able to beat down with something, or you get an early Jace. But for the most part, we're going to turn 100, and Nicholas needs to account for that.
Yeah, and once you start doing that, certain cards in his sideboard, certain strategies start becoming available. So normally I wouldn't want to, Surgical Extraction, while this isn't a 1-card combo deck, is actually a card that has some play here.
Yeah, I think if you can just put a Primeval Titan in the graveyard and then take all of them away, that actually hurts Daryl's deck overall, because kind of the plan is looping the same couple of cards over and over and over, and that's where those Surgical Extraction effects shine.
Even something like being able to Surgical a Teleria West in this matchup has some application.
Yeah, absolutely. It turns off being able to find your pacts. It turns off basically a lot of your tutor ability.
Yeah, your Titans get much more fair.
Right. You know, you have a good bit of card selection between Ancient Stirrings and Teleria West, but if you take part of that dynamic away, you have a lot of one-ofs, and Ancient Stirrings is good, but it's not that good.
Over on the middle table, Nick Mincucci on Titan Shift evens things up, 1 game apiece. These Primeval Titan mirrors, the die roll does matter a lot, and that 3rd game, Nick will have to win on the draw. The other card, though, I want to mention on Nick's Julian's side is 3 copies of Damping Sphere.
So that's one that is fine in the matchup. The issue is Daryl can just make land drops. It's kind of the Tron conundrum, where you need to actually be pressuring them somehow for these effects to be great. It will take away some of Ayers' explosive starts, but eventually Ayers is going to do Primeval Titan things.
Is it still good enough that you feel you'd want to have it against the Amulet deck?
It's probably better than some of your earlier spot removal. You're not really excited about cards like Oust for the most part. It was fine that game because Ayers had the Sakura Tribe Scout. Yeah. But outside of those scenarios, it's kind of weak. So if Julian is looking to take out a ton of cards here, it's definitely one of the things you're looking to reach for.
Yeah, Oust seems to be good against specifically Tribe Scout. Now, I do want to go back to that last game where that Saddle the Wreckage felt like it put Daryl back into things.
Yeah, it was definitely awkward to give Daryl, double his lands.
Yeah. Game 2. Daryl starts the turn 1 Amulet of Vigor. Now, he has mulligan to 6 this game.
This deck's pretty good at mulliganing a lot of the time because you have so many lands that are worth multiple mana. Not right now, naturally.
Right. And we will get to see how that Damping Sphere plays out, as turn 2, it is cast here on Nick Julian's side. And on Daryl, looks like he does have Bounce Land Trinket Mage, so some damage is going to be done.
And it's possible Ayers is going to be using things like Engineered Explosives to get around Damping Sphere. There are some tricks you can do to kind of just pay whatever you want for the Engineered Explosives, and then it'll work out in the end. And it's a card that's also attractive. We saw the Detention Sphere game 1 where it just let him crank out a 5-mana Primeval Titan if it resolved.
That's nice indeed. For Nick, just developing mana. We have Celestial Colonnade for the turn and a Serum Visions. So Damping Sphere, the effect we care about in this matchup is going to be the first one. If a land's tapped for 2 or more mana, instead produces a single colorless. So we're looking at cards like Simic Growth Chamber to play pretty fair here.
Yeah, it's a weird spot where there are actually turns where this deck does cast several spells in a turn, but it's probably not casting several spells if its lands only tap for 1. Right.
Yeah, the second ability, whenever a player casts a spell, it costs 1 more for each other spell. So it does mean that Summoner's Pact for Primeval Titan is now a 7-mana play instead of a 6-mana play.
Exactly. And that ends up being a lot when you actually need to have 7 lands in play instead of 3 or 4.
I do love this play from Daryl. Vesuva, copying Celestial Colonnade, will untap and make Trinket Mage.
Oh, he's doing some beats here.
I see white mana in play already.
I am.
Yeah, see, we got our blue mana, we got our white mana. We're just gonna beat them down with their own creature land.
This is, I'd say 5 color, but it's much closer to 7 or 8 color here, right? This deck just does whatever we want, so we're just along for the ride.
Trinket Mage will get Amulet of Vigor, not on the battlefield, however, into the hand.
Probably just reactionary there.
Yeah.
It's a power move. It's a power move. You go, look at this.
It's coming.
Look at this. Here it is. I don't care if my lands tap for 1. They tap twice.
4th land for Nicholas. And he'll hold up as we go back over to Daryl, attacking in for 2.
Do you smell that?
It's a power. Just another one?
It's a cryptic command.
Is it a cryptic command?
I can smell it.
What are we countering? It doesn't
whatever
matter.
You
Anything?
Want. Yeah, whatever you want. That's the thing about cryptic command.
And it looks like a trick here to have the Teleria West transmute. It'll start by making the 2nd Amulet of Vigor.
So when our lands are only tapping for 1, this is not quite a ramp spell yet, but it is close to a free spell because it's worth that extra untap. If we see an Azusa, that's going to change. But for now, not quite.
Simic Growth Chamber will pick up the Gemstone Mine for Daryl, and he'll actually just pass.
This is interesting because he has another amulet in his hand, it looks like. So you see him respecting Detention Sphere, respecting Engineered Explosives, which is unlikely to come out of a blue-white deck. But any mass wipe to these cards, he's saying, 2's good enough.
Now, this is an interesting one. On end step, Nicholas decides to Field of Ruin away the Simic Growth Chamber, which is only actually tapping for 1 right now, and then paths away the Trinket Mage.
It's an interesting decision, and most of what Julian's kind of doing here is he might just be assuming that Ayers is going to answer this Damping Sphere eventually, and he just kind of wants to have his bases covered in that respect and not just have this Damping Sphere die and then be dead on the table.
Okay. Ghost Quarter for Nicholas Julian. What did you feel about the play there with Field of Ruin going for something like Teleria West on this board?
Oh, I'm a big fan of that, assuming that Ayers has more bounce lands in his hand. You really just want to make sure you're just cutting off how Ayers actually gets to play.
And Julian will use the Ghost Quarter, but it's not on Teleria West. He's going to take care of that Vesuva, which was a Celestial Colonnade.
It looks like he's identified the spot where things spiraled. Game 1 is when that Settle the Wreckage happened. We saw that Ayers was back in the game and got to do things. So Julian is just going, all right, if my Damping Sphere gets blown up, I don't want Ayers to do anything. I want him to be on 5 mana, and I'm going to do whatever I can to keep him on 5 mana.
And Julian will cast Jace the Mind Sculptor here, using Brainstorm mode to draw 3. Shields are down now, though, to land in Primeval Titan from Daryl if he has it.
And we see Dilks down there taking the first game against the humans pilot, Dominic Testa. Things are looking good. I would say they are amulet.
And what a turn here, because you're tapping out into double amulet 5 lands.
It's a bold strategy.
Right, what could go wrong here?
Matthias, let's see if it pays off for him.
Surely Daryl can't make 3 Primeval Titans this turn.
You know what impressed me? How can he do that?
Well, if he's got this 3rd amulet in hand, things just go crazy.
Oh yeah.
He'd have to get rid of the Damping Sphere for most of those tricks to work. But 1 Primeval Titan's well within his range.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he just plays a land. And then we have a Primeval Titan.
Yeah, it's a good combo. 6 mana plus Primeval Titan.
Tell me how the combo works.
It doesn't even matter. You just do anything with it, and it's great.
Right. He actually can attack here as well with that Primeval Titan because he gets the extra mana off the amulet, the 2nd amulet rather, and then gets the Slayer Stronghold, and then not Boros Garrison, but just a 1 mana land.
Right.
And then he can activate all of it. And there's a chance?
So what we have happening here, Daryl starts out by making a blue mana with Teleria West, tapping 3 forests, going up to 4 mana. Simic Growth Chamber untaps twice to get him up to 6 and picks up the Teleria West, and then he will make Primeval Titan. Though it looks like with the trigger on the stack, Nicholas is going to go for a path.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty nice line from Julian. I like tapping out for the Jace and kind of giving this impression, hey, my hand sucks. You should do something now.
Sure.
And Daryl kind of taking the bait a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he had to fade that path to exile and wasn't able to. It doesn't look like Nicholas will get to untap with Jace on a clean board.
All right, so we're seeing Daryl taking the more grindy route here, which is just kind of to be expected at this point. We don't have enough mana for the cavern.
Yeah, so he still gets the Primeval Titan trigger, finds a Teleria West and Bazooka Bog, uses the mana from that, because remember, we never actually went to attacks,
exactly,
to transmute the Teleria West. And he'll get Pact of Negation with it. So setting up perhaps for some fireworks on the following turn.
That pact is going to cost 1 extra. We've talked about the
Where
pact
will we
power
find
plays.
the mana?
Listen. Who knows? It could be our land zone. It could be a wishing well. All kinds of places have mana these days.
Speaking of, just never know. It's an enchanted place.
Listen, Ayers is a green mage.
So speaking of a power play, how about Jace Fate Sealing that
Love
turn?
it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, you can keep that Celestial Sanctuary.
That communicates strength from Julian as well. He's saying, I have the resources I need. What you got?
I don't need
Show
any
me.
more cards.
Exactly.
Cavern of Souls from Daryl. That's going to be on Giant. Here's Primeval Titan. Doesn't even need the Pact of Negation. That's resolving.
There's a chance that Julian ends up in a weird spot where he might get hurt by his own Damping Sphere here if he needs to cast 2 spells because of this Pact of Negation. There's a chance he needs to respond to Pact of Negation, so he can't go, say, Cryptic plus Mana Leak or something like that. He actually has to, say, have a 1-drop and a 4-drop or some cheaper spells in order to interact with this Primeval Titan.
So Cavern was made this turn. Slayer's Stronghold into play off Primeval Titan's going to go to attempt to give it haste. going to attack, and it looks like we have that working as well.
Yeah, it looks like Julian is kind of at the spot. It looks like, okay, so Ayers once again just kind of going for the throat here, saying, all right, well, you're dead or you're not.
Yeah, this attack's not at Jace. This is upstairs at Julian, and there is a Pact of Negation in his hand. So it's an attempt here to swing for 20. Remember that if he had the mana, the Slayer's Stronghold already targeted it once. Now it has double strike.
This may have been an ambitious Fate Seal from Julian if he didn't have an answer to the Primeval Titan.
Well, it looks like the Titan's only for 16 at the moment because it's only been Slayer Strongholded once.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, he's got 17 life. It's fine.
Oh, ooh, we are sacrificing a land to gain 4 life.
Yeah, Celestial Colony blocks. Remember, Primeval Titan does still trample.
Gain 4 life. We call this the Golden Glow Moth.
I love that card. Thank you. Thank you. Any flying creature that gains 4 life on a block, I'm down to block.
I know. Y'all, you have a history. This
That's
is
a nice
really,
card.
This is
That's
a Matthias feature match. It's Golden Glow
like
Moth
that.
versus Primeval Titan, the real heavyweights of Modern.
Look, you haven't lived until you Proclamation of Rebirthed a Golden Glow Moth.
I don't plan on living. It's count me out.
Hit in. Nicholas drops to 5 after that block. Just wasn't comfortable going to 1, so the Colonnade ate 4 more.
Yeah, the issue with going to 1 is you start being dead to colony plant tokens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you just
Colony Garden slayers it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's and that's a little embarrassing. I would rather maybe die to Primeval Titan than probably die to Colony Heart. You know, it's
Colony
Garden tokens, excuse me. Yeah, that is a fate worse than death.
So we'll go back to Julian. The downside is that on that turn, he actually didn't earn the Pact of Negation yet.
Yeah, you have to do something to actually make that card happen. What do you do? How do you play around it other than through it? That's the only way out.
Brainstorm from Nicholas looking for more answers.
Dig and dig and dig. He's seen 4 cards this turn. It is pretty likely that he's found something that can interact with a Primeval Titan. But we kind of talked about how not great spot removal is in this matchup as it progresses. So there's a chance that he's boarded some of that out, and it might just be too late for him.
Looking at the hand here, we have another Jace. He had to put back a mana leak. A lot of his cards just not working at this point in the game.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like we actually have a match result on table B there. That is Nick Mincucci taking it with Titan Shift over Amulet. That's a little bit of an upset.
It's an upset. It's a winnable one, though.
Mm-hmm.
So Nick Mincucci taking the win there now does mean for the team of Ayers, Magalhaes, and Dilks, they're going to need to take the other 2 boards. Daryl looks like in a fine spot, though, at the moment to do just that.
Yeah, this is looking rough. You don't want to be unsummoning Primeval Titan when the opponent has a Slayer Stronghold. That's just not going to be good enough, right? It just means that you're effectively making Daryl tap 6 lands. I'm pretty sure that at this point, Julian's likely dead with that Pact of Negation back for Ayers, mana to cast Titan, mana to give it haste. This is really, really rough for Julian. He's going to have to do some impressive stuff to get out of this one.
What, 5 life? We're even looking at things like Azusa plus Slayer's Stronghold being reasonable lines.
Yikes. Oh, no. The plants. The plants are coming.
Do we have Colony Garden? I can only hope.
We have Primeval Titan. That could be whatever we want. It could be a Colony Garden. You know how bad we want one of those.
Looks like Daryl counting land drops here. Or perhaps we're looking at mana.
All right.
So here's Azusa. It's 2 mana off the Sanctuary and then 1 off the Teleria West. Second land for the turn is Celestia Sanctuary. That's going to make 2 mana. Cavern of Souls is 3 as he picks it up. And transmutes Teleria West.
right, and it's Ballista time.
Yeah, it's going to be an uncountable Ballista, and that's going to be the handshake. So Daryl Ayers takes care of his side of things. 2-0 is going to defeat Nicholas Julian, which means things are going to come down to the third match.
Yeah, that was a little bit awkward for Julian there that second game where things felt good for him, and like he drew his sideboard cards and he kind of did what his deck was supposed to do. But how many Titans can you beat? How many Caverns can you beat?
Yeah, when you're playing a control deck, a lot of your cards do care about mana efficiency, things like mana leaks. So even if you're removing Primeval Titans, the mana advantage Daryl's gaining becomes hard to deal with.
Yeah, I think something that we can really go back to is at the beginning you sort of pointed out where our Field of Ruins were going, where our Ghost Quarters were going, and in those types of situations, it's going to be better to kind of point them at the Teleria West and the things like that to kind of just make it so Ayers can't do anything if you actually attack those cards. The way it stands, Ayers was still able to get to sort of play his game. He was getting to do what he wanted to do because the deck just plays 27 lands. It just drew them.
Well, we're going to head down to our last table. That's Matthew Dilks and Dominic Testa. Game number 3 here. On Testa's side of humans, an Aether Vial on 1, Champion of the Parish, but facing down one of in the deck that is really at its best in the matchup.
Yeah, this is a good start from both players. You know, your Vial Champion draws are kind of the bread and butter of the humans deck. It's why you play it. But then on the other side, Walking Ballista and Sakura Tribe Scout is going to keep pace with that pretty well.
Yeah, an interesting turn here, an interesting decision from Dilks. Had the opportunity to shoot down Champion of the Parish before it grew, but he'd have to lose the Ballista to do it.
Right, and there's kind of a point where you always want to stay in position with a Walking Ballista versus a Vial. You look real dumb if you go to peck this Champion of the Parish and he Vials in a Noble Hierarch in response.
Yeah, then you just lose the Ballista.
Exactly.
Meddling Mage turn 2 here from Testa. Going to pump Champion of the Parish. Team's going to decide on a card.
A lot of the names you're going to be looking for here are basically your Primeval Titans are fairly natural, but Engineered Explosives is what kind of helps humans build this proverbial house of cards.
Right.
Where you have your Freebooter, your Meddling Mage, your images on the Meddling Mages, and so on to just make it so the opponent can't do anything while you peck them with a Manus Rider or a Champion of the Parish or what have you.
Kind of consulting here. 7 minutes, 30 seconds remains in the round. Looks like we're going to Violent Phantasmal Image, take another crack at Meddling Mage.
So a lot of what we're seeing here is just Testa trying to get a little bit aggressive with this Champion of the Parish. He's just wanting to grow it as much as possible. The drawback to just jamming the Phantasmal Image here is that now Dilks can just grow this Walking Ballista and peck it off whenever he wants.
So the first Meddling Mage was on Primeval Titan, and the copy was on Engineered Explosives, which at first looks good, but Slayer's Stronghold actually can break that up.
Yeah, Slayer's Stronghold is decidedly nice against Phantasmal Image.
Yeah. Kaisel Freebooter from Testa shows a hand.
Here, those Path to Exiles really coming in.
Looks like 2 paths, 2 lands, and a Primeval Titan. Make that a Summoner's Pact and Primeval Titan. He'll take one of the Path to Exiles. And it doesn't look like Dilks has the red mana source just yet for Slayer's Stronghold.
No, but he has a Walking Ballista machine gun. He has 4 lands. He's feeling pretty okay about his position right now. Here
is Aether Vial. It'll Vial in Night of Autumn.
Oh, that is what we call a nice card.
Yeah, so it looks like he's going to go for the Destroy Target Artifact or Enchantment mode, targeting Walking Ballista.
Now it's just kind of an issue of what Dilks wants to peck off. It's whether you want to hit this Phantasmal Image, whether you want to maybe kill this Night of Autumn. I'd lean towards the Phantasmal Image. It's a 2-2 versus a 2-1.
Yeah, well he has 4 mana, so he could do both, right?
Exactly. All right, just going for that, which means that he's likely looking to just cast Path to Exile this turn instead of just pecking off the Night of Autumn. What Dilks is thinking here is Night of Autumn doesn't matter as much as this hit from Champion of the Parish or just being able to cast his Primeval Titan. So having the mana to do that is really what we're looking at here.
Path to Exile will unlock the Meddling Mage that was on Primeval Titan.
Value doesn't matter if your opponent's dead. And Dilks is
Yeah.
really in the business of getting his opponent dead.
6th land, and now Primeval Titan. Now that the mage isn't there, Dilks can cast it. That setting up for that play, likely the reason that he didn't put that extra counter on Ballista.
Exactly. He cared much more about the mana efficiency and or less about the mana efficiency and more about just getting to cast Path to Exile, getting that Meddling Mage off the table and getting to do his thing. Because right now, without those disruptive sort of lock pieces in check, you know, that's a 4/4 against a 6/6. You know which one of those is bigger? It's the 6/6.
I'm going to go the one with the 6s.
Is that, yeah. I'm not a numbers girl, but I know those two. Those are as many fingers as I have, and I know which one is more fingers.
So we set up here with Primeval Titan. Dilks still had a healthy 16 from that last turn.
Yeah, and this is kind of where you're going to see humans flounder a little bit. Its disruptive pieces were taken offline. It doesn't have a clock that can break through this without something like a Reflector Mage getting involved. You know, Testa is really, really going to struggle getting back into this. Okay.
We do see Tajik, looks like.
That'll play. So we're seeing this alpha attack, which is kind of what Testa has to do. I love it. I love this attack. You just need to kill Dilks. The game going longer is very bad for you. You need to get damage in.
Tajik leads an edge, the violent play by Julian. The 3-2 haste attacking here will prevent the damage reduction not going to matter too much, and Tajik blocked by Primeval Titan. On Dilks' side makes a block. Sakura Tribe Scout went in front of Champion of the Parish and then tapped to put a Vesuva into play just to build that mana up. But damage still connected there. As we had 2 in the air and 2 more from the Knight of Autumn, should send Dilks closer, I believe down to 12.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And was that an Azusa off the top?
Not sure. We see, a transmute of Teleria West. And that's for Engineered Explosives.
All right, so we see this Engineered Explosives clear out a lot of the problem cards, the Hierarch and the Champion of Parish. This could still freebooter dealing 12 before Primeval Titan deals 14 more is a tall order, a very tall order.
Swing in from Primeval Titan and Azusa as the follow-up.
All right, well, the Kitesail freebooter gets in. It's kind of a free attack here.
And we do have a pause in the game here, as Judge Call has been involved.
So it looks like the issue here. Okay.
All right. Was a question about some of the mana, confirming that Vesuva is on Simic Growth Chamber. Both players agree to that, and they will continue on. Another Summoner's Pact here from Matthew Dilks for another Primeval Titan. This should clean it up fairly quickly.
All right, and this Azusa also just kind of is going to let Dilks do whatever he wants. Not that the Primeval Titan was really keeping it a close game.
We're at the point where Dilks has so much tutoring that winning feels almost like an afterthought here.
Yeah. This is the point of the game where you kind of think to yourself, all right, I've won the game. How do I not lose the game?
Right.
And you're just covering those bases. That gorgeous Elliott Raft token making an appearance.
The 0-1 plant there from Colony Garden. Dilks also grabs Kabira Crossroads to pad the life total by 2. It's a swing in from 2 Titans. One of them is an 8-6 from Slayer's Stronghold. This should be for 14, which is what Testa's at the moment. It'll force a block.
Yeah, so we're going to see taking 13. So close game. Close game.
Right.
But we have a Kite Sail, Freebooter, and a Dream. All right,
and Knight of Autumn keeps Testa alive for a turn. He'll drop to, it looks like 1. And gets 1 more turn.
All right, and, padded the life total a bit more with Kabira Crossroads.
And I love it. Is it Static Ash? We're going to shoot down the plant token.
That's an interesting one to have in the
Take
deck right now. It does shoot down the Tribe Scouts.
Look, it did a thing.
Yeah,
it took care of that plant token is gone.
I am upset. I love the plant token, okay?
Mantis Rider from Dominic looks at the board. This swing is not for 16, so that's going to go Dilks' way. So they just hit time, though, and for Team Amulet, they're going to go ahead and take 2 out of 3.
There they go. Everyone in good spirits over it.